the Cold War drew to an end, we saw the possibilities of a new order
and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
The 1957 Conference of Rome, the embryo of a political union which they proclaimed to be their ultimate objective.
Yes, these men and their hypnotized followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.
We're talking today to documentary filmmaker and syndicated radio host Jason Bermas. Jason was one of the instrumental members of the Loose Change team that brought you two of those important films. And more than a year and a half ago, I reached out to Jason and said, I'd like you to come to my office for the next year or two and work on a seminal film on the New World Order. It can be on any issue you wish to cover, dealing with the global elite and their plan for humanity, but I want to see you make a film that is 100% yours. He previously produced in our office one of the most in-depth 9/11 films out there that proves 9/11 was an inside job, and of course that was Fabled Enemies. But in the last 18 months, my entire crew, myself and of course Jason leading the operation, have produced a documentary film that is among the top 2 or 3 that I have ever been involved in the production of. Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, is an incredible achievement. The history of the New World Order, their mindset, what makes them tick, how they have control over society, the roundtable groups, their shadow government system, false flag terror, narcotics trafficking, child kidnapping rings, white slavery. It's all covered in Invisible Empire. And that's why I'm very proud to announce to everyone that it's going to be released on DVD and at prisonplanet.tv on April 15th, 2010. And I want to say this to the viewers out there. The destiny of this film is in your hands. We've poured our blood, sweat, and tears, our energy, our very essence into this film. And we have put out some of the most viral films in world history, whether it's Loose Change that I helped produce, or whether it's the Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, Endgame. And I'm telling you, Invisible Empire is the truth in living color with stunning graphics and the globalists in their own words. If every American, if every person in the world could see this film, our problems would be over overnight. And that's where the next phase of this comes in. We've put the work in. Now it's up to you to carry the ball. So for the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk to the director himself, Jason Bermas. Jason, thanks for talking to me. What inspired you to make this film? Break down what's in the film.
You've got it, Alex. And I just want to thank you so much for really bringing the information about the New World Order and global government to light. Without you, I wouldn't be in this fight. It was in 2001 when I first started to look into the attacks of 9/11 that I came across your documentary, The Road to Tyranny. And that in itself, Alex, was a seminal documentary that really did help to wake up millions in this country. But through my first viewing of it, when you were talking about a New World Order, I said, this can't possibly be true. I would know about this. So immediately after I watched it, I began a long road of research. And unfortunately, Alex, it's worse than you even portrayed in that film. And through now 7+ years of research on the New World Order, on global government, on really tyranny in general, I've been able to put together this film, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, with over 200 quotes from the horse's mouth, from the political and business elite throughout the world. And I think that this film has the potential to reach millions around the world, so that there is no longer any doubt that not only does a push for global government exist, it is a push for a tyrannical New World Order.
Jason, when we were talking just a few minutes before this taping today, I said, what is the essence of your film? What inspired you to make it? I told you, I'm going to produce this, I'm going to pay for it. You can make it on any subject you want. What subject is it going to be on? And you told me, look, I didn't believe this stuff. Then I went and researched it and found out it was true. I just want people to basically go through the thought process and the research process that I went through so they would understand this is not Alex Jones's opinion or anybody else's opinion. This is the fact. An oppressive global corporate takeover is happening. Private corporations are setting up a world government. Can you repeat what you said to me before we take this interview?
When I started researching the New World Order, and I found out that their modes of control were things like false flag terror, world wars, genocide, eugenics, and sometimes much worse, including mass mind control I became extremely disturbed, and I decided to have a call to action myself. I said, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm not doing this for a living. I'm going to reach out to my friends, my family members, my coworkers, and tell them about this stuff. And as I fell into becoming a documentary filmmaker, nothing was more important to me than exposing the fact that this push towards a one-world government meant tyranny. And it was very difficult for me to research RFID technology and microchips and find out that human beings are to be implanted somewhere in the future in this planet. The government that I once loved, a country I once did the Pledge of Allegiance to every single day in school, was actually the ones dealing drugs in this country, whether it be the crack cocaine on the streets or the heroin, which we see a huge surge in right now. And when I saw this stuff, I said, who is doing something about this? And Alex, you were the only one doing anything. So I said, you know what, my voice can be heard too. And I literally came up from nothing, got involved with the Loose Change projects. You allowed me to do Fabled Enemies, and now this movie. And this movie, folks, is the culmination of years of research, and hopefully this is going to be a key into waking up the mindless masses, the people that were tuned in to the Final Four this week, the people that really just care about who wins the Super Bowl, the people that are obsessed with their baseball and basketball teams, Alex. So that's what this movie is. This is going to wake up the everyman.
Well, going back more than 14 years ago, I started an access television show, then a local radio show. I had no idea I would have this effect globally. And I look back to 14 years ago, there were very few people really accurately looking at the world. And now we've been proven right. World government's been announced, private banks are to run it. It's about eugenics, it's about feudalism, it's about war and control. And then I look at your story, someone I inspired 8 years ago. I didn't know I was inspiring you. And now to look at the journey you've had, reaching hundreds of millions of people. And so I think of all the other people out there watching right now. What is their destiny? Who's the next Jason Burmis that we're going to wake up? Who is the next person we're going to spark that idea in their mind to take action? And when we were talking before we did this taping, you were pointing out that that's your plan. That's what this film is meant for, is to really, when you watch the documentary, leading people through the progression of your awakening. So it takes an 8-9 year awakening that you had and condenses it down to 2 hours and 20 minutes so that people can see the facts for themselves. And that's what's so important, because if we don't wake people up now, if we don't reach out to the population and show them who their enslavers are, who their oppressors are, they're going to win. This is a life and death situation, Jason. Speak to what you told me before this interview.
Somehow the establishment has taught us that we're meaningless, that we're just the little guy, that we can't make a difference. And that is far beyond the truth. I know firsthand that people like yourself and myself have reached millions and millions of people. And through that, I know we're reaching the next big filmmaker.
And that's what threatens the system.
They don't want millions of people out in the streets. They don't want people reading their tyrannical legislation. They don't want people to understand that we have 3 branches of government and we're supposed to have checks and balances in this country. They don't want people reading the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And we want to see a resurgence in that. We want to see a revelation of the mind. Not for a revolution in this country. We want a restoration of the Constitution and Bill of Rights and the moral values that we used to have in this country. That's what this movement is really about.
Jason, when I watch Invisible Empire, I mean, it covers everything. How they control government secretly, how they maintain their power and control, all the different criminal organizations that they dominate. But give people a brief breakdown of what's in the film.
First thing I wanted to do with this movie was establish that a new world order was the establishment's term, was the elite terminology for one world government.
And you point out this is not some global democracy, this is an authoritarian world government.
They always come at you, oh, we need world democracy, we need peace on earth. Well, those things sound great in theory, but then you look at the actions of these controllers and it's anything but. So I begin with the elite themselves using the terminology of the New World Order. I bring you through the first Bush administration. We all know that George H.W. Bush may be the most vocal proponent for a New World Order of any era. So after we bring you through that, we actually bring you through the history of the terminology New World Order and point out that Samuel Zane Batten wrote a book on that very term, which was just like we see today, a collectivist mindset, a tyrannical one-world government, everyone works for the state, everything that the founders of this country were against.
And then Hitler calls for it. Every collectivist control freak is for this New World Order.
That is absolutely correct. A lot of people don't understand. Hitler actually wrote an untitled book that many have dubbed My Order, or New World Order, where he calls for himself to be the ruling dictator of a global government. And we actually have G. Edward Griffin with some insight on that as well. We then move forward in time and show you that Henry Kissinger is a very vocal proponent of a New World Order.
You show them talking about New World Order, but then you define it's an authoritarian, unelected, oppressive, eugenics world government.
That's absolutely